back to the build series. So obviously, I'm in the middle of building up this dually. If you're new to the channel, hi, my name's Dan, we're building up a dually. And I have some presents, kinda. So, what are we gonna do today? Usually these builds take place over like 3 or 4 days, so who knows? Whatever I say right now is not gonna matter in like 4 days when I'm knuckles deep into something else. However, what I'm gonna be doing specifically this day is kind of going over some of the electronic stuff that I have. I've got taillights, I've got a little present from DOITWITHDAN here. Very excited about that one. And then I got some more taillights, which I'll explain in just a second. I also need to rewire the fuel pump because when we were putting the bed on, I knocked one of the wires loose, the main wire. That's pretty easy stuff. It'll take like 5 seconds. I'm still waiting on the headliner, but that should be here either later today or tomorrow. So that'll be included in this video, probably, I hope. But before we start on the fuel pump, let's talk about taillights. These are the taillights that I ordered. Look at these. OEM GMC 2015 taillights. These are for 2015 and I believe up to current or at least 2018. That being said, these are the wrong taillights. Go back in the hole. Why are they the wrong taillights, Dan, you ask, because you're a normal person? I ordered these taillights before I got the bed for the dually. And the dually bed is actually a 2013 and lower, 2007 to 13, I believe those are the year ranges, for a Chevy Silverado 25 and 3500, specifically the 3500 because it's the dually. Originally when I got the bed, I thought I told the guy it was for 2015 because the 2015 Chevrolet Silverados and the 2015 GMC Sierra 3500s share the same bed and the same taillight. The only difference is the badging. It's the exact same bed. So I was like, cool, I'll just get me a GMC bed. This is before I knew they were interchangeable. So when I called him, I'm like, yo, I need a 2015 GMC or Chevrolet bed. And he's all like, yeah, I got that, what's up, dog? So I was a Chevy, I'm like, whatever, went right on, no big deal. Taillights show up, they're the wrong taillights, they don't fit. So I'm gonna have to return these. Which I'm 100% okay with, because I'll tell you why. The GMC taillights I ordered were $240 with shipping somewhere around there. The Chevrolet ones were like 80 bucks shipped to the house, overnight. Buzzinga. That looks like it'll probably fit, I hope. Hell to the yes they will. We got taillights, baby. Which is really good news. However, let's take a quick peek at this package here. My buddies over at DioDynamics sent me out a full lighting kit for this truck. Okay, wiring harnesses and things that look very breakable. It's got all the resistors and stuff like that. Oh, these are the color changes for the Demon Eyes, which I guess I just spoiled the surprise of the next one. These are, I believe, 6-inch light bars. I don't know where I'm gonna put these yet, but we have options. They actually sent me out 2 of them. We got resistors because when you switch your vehicle over to full LED instead of just halogens, if it didn't have it before, your car will not recognize the fact that it has LEDs because they require so little power. So you install these resistors to make it really dumb and simple. You put these in between your wires and it's all like, hey, there's totally something there instead of these LEDs. I think I explained that really bad, but you guys get it. Oh, okay, we got some Bluetooth we got some Bluetooth RGBW controllers, which I'm assuming means that I can connect this to my phone. That'd be pretty neato burrito. I'm assuming that red means tail lights, and then these are reverse lights, fog lights, headlight, I don't know. More wires, these are probably super important. And then finally, last but not least, the Demon Eyes, because, yeah. They were unsure whether or not to send me this at first, and I was unsure whether or not to accept this, because here's what I have to do. All these little lights, these are LED circuit boards basically, and you have to crack open your original lights by baking them in the oven, break apart all the goodie that's inside of them, like all the epoxy or the glue or whatever holds them together. You put them in the oven essentially, pull it all apart, and then assemble this in with like glue and shit, and then wire it back up yourself. Fuck it, you can do it, right? And I'm like, I mean, you know, sure. The point is that we have a lot of really cool things to play with when it comes time. I'm gonna focus on the taillights for right now. I'm gonna start working on this after I finish wiring up the fuel pump. So let's do that. So in the process of putting on the bed, I ripped out the ground wire, which is right here. Of course, it's in like the worst possible spot. It's like so far up in there, but ground wire's here and it goes all the way to the top. So I think the appropriate action here is just to disconnect the battery and then just do my best to hook these 2 wires back up. It's fucking impossible to get on that thing while I'm in here. All right, let's, I've got something new to chalk up to my list of sketchy things that I've done, which is what I just did a second ago, which is use a lighter to shrink, heat shrink on these wires that are literally right next to the extra fuel pump. Now, I know what some of you guys are gonna say, like, Dan, it's diesel. Diesel fuel doesn't burn. You can't light diesel on fire. It's the fumes that burn, not the fuel. And you know what? You're right. I mean, technically. But you know what there's a lot of up underneath here? Diesel fumes. You know, I really wasn't worried about it lighting off, but kind of sketchy when you think about it out loud. When I use crimps on wiring and heat shrink at the same time, which is every time, what I do is I actually do a bigger heat shrink that goes around the crimp itself, and then 2 smaller pieces of heat shrink that'll go around this once it sucks down, because this won't tighten usually to the size of the wires. You'll see what I'm saying. I don't have my heat gun here, so don't yell at me. And then what I'll do after that is run the 2 smaller pieces of heat shrink that I've already put on the wire before these, and just kind of run it over the tips of both sides, and then I'll just shrink that. As soon as the wind dies down. See, if you had a heat gun, you wouldn't need this. And then there you have it, the triple heat shrink. Dude, this is just something that I started doing because I used to hate wiring, and now I take a lot of pride in my wiring. Now when I go reconnect the battery, you should hear this thing kick on. Oh yeah. Listen to it pump those juices. And now we are at full power because I fucked it up the first time. Boy, do we have our work cut out for us. I have all the trim pieces. These need to be painted black to match the headliner, which means that I'm gonna be doing some taping and some cleaning. First things first, I'm gonna be using some alcohol to wipe down everything that's gonna get painted, just to get it nice and clean. Make sure that the surface is as accepting as possible. And I'm not really gonna be doing any sort of sanding on this stuff. This is some pretty basic plastic trim. And while you should probably always prep your surface for something like this, it's really not. It's not even worth it. Since I'm painting basically just plastic, I'll be honest, I hate using spray paint, mostly because it just never seems to dry properly, ever. It stays wet 24/7 essentially. This is adhesive promoter with primer, so I'll go directly from this to the base coat and then to the clear. I think now's a good time to talk about this. So I really dislike spray painting. If I paint anything, I usually prefer to be like an actual paint setup, you know, booth. Go over the top with it, make sure it's 100%. With it being interior trim, I didn't feel the need to do any of that, and I know this stuff will hold up well over time. It's not gonna be in direct sunlight or anything like that. This will work perfect for my application. However, I want to take it a step further and make sure I gave it every opportunity to work. So I use this adhesive promoter that I've never used before with a primer, quote unquote, and I was very disappointed in the way it laid down. It created like soft, white, blotchy spots all over, despite the fact that I laid a pretty even coat. It was almost like a texture, right? I applied paint directly to one piece afterwards, did not like the way it was laying at all, so I scrapped that, sanded it down, then I decided that I'd rather just go with a self-etching primer. So I applied a self-etching primer with the same brand and everything, then laid the black on top of that, and I had much better results and ended up looking absolutely perfect. All right, so I got the primer applied, waiting for that to dry, and then I'll start hitting it lightly with the black and then fade in. So yeah. All right, to make this relatively productive, well, I'm gonna let the paint dry. I'm gonna start working on these taillights. This currently has a little harness already ready to go. I have an idea though. It goes in like that. So I'll be honest, I don't know what I'm really looking at here, but I know that these already have their lights in it. These two are red lights, meaning your brake or your idle lights, and then you have your reverse lights. So I'm assuming one of these in here in each one, and then one of these in here. And I've been wrong before. Everyone gets one, but. All right, so those lights are not fitting, which does make sense. So here is the GMC light, here is the Chevrolet light. He told me because these are different, they also take different lights, which means that this one might work in here, which it do. That sucks. Because that means that these are for this tail light. And these plugs don't look like they'll fit in here either. Because I would totally just take these plugs out, but they won't. Completely different size plugs, which means that that's gonna be a no for me, dog, unfortunately. So we won't get to put in the diode dynamic lights. They actually sent out the right lights. I told them the wrong lights. But it's cool because these actually have lights already in them. I'll just ship these back and then have them send me out the appropriate LEDs. Diode Dynamics makes these. They don't make these or these. These are OEM parts. These are your LEDs. I really wish I could hook these up today because I really want to show you how dope these are. But I'll have them ship them right out. That's a little unfortunate, but life happens. These OEM clips are still in on my truck. I think this is a GM thing, But basically these little flanges here kind of fold in on themselves, just basically pop it through and they lock out, you know. Kind of a pain in the ass to get out if you can't get behind it. Thankfully, I can literally crawl up underneath the truck and push it from behind. Or if you have replacements like I do, you can just break them. There we go. Okay, so the new one actually came with replacement bulbs and replacement wires. However, this wiring harness is already strung through the whole thing, so I'm just gonna reuse it. The OEM harness that's already in this bed because, you know, save me some time, but I might as well pop in the new bulbs. And it doesn't matter, these are actually all the same lights. The coloring comes from the inside of the taillight. Let's try to find all this mess of a wiring job that I have. I don't know what that is, but it's cut. Sensor lights of some sort. I don't know if this is right or not, but I'm just gonna plug it in. Maybe it is. Who knows? Now let's try this out, because this wiring's not making any sense to me. This is obvious. This left tail light. There's a little thing in here that says left. So plug it in. Let's just see if this works. Okay, can't help but notice it's not working. Okay, so this is for the Chevy with the old style clips. They changed the clips, I guess. This is the clip for the GMC, right? This plugs directly into the back of my electrical housing, which is right back there. Big electrical display where all the stuff plugs in, like a big hub. This is the one that fits with it. These fit the GMC taillights. But this is a previous gen bed, which means that it takes the taillights that take this clip, but this clip won't fit into this hub, so I have to swap them. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Now, I am 99% positive that this is gonna work. However, there's 1% of me that knows better. That's good. Happy with that? I'll heat shrink it and call it good. I still am missing 2 bolts, but I'll figure that out later. Now do the exact same thing over here. So, the good news is that we have fully functional taillights. Bad news is that I'm out $230 for those taillights. The okay news, I can probably just sell those for relatively cheap. It looks so much better with some taillights in it. And in other good news, I can finally remove this trail light. All right guys, it's late. I just applied the last coat of black over everything. The parts that are on this little platform right here, those are actually ready for clear coat right this second. However, I'm gonna do it in the morning and do all of it at one time. All these pieces right here, the DVD player, the little trim pieces, the handles, whatever. I'll let this dry overnight, make sure everything's nice and dry. Hit it with the clear coat in the morning, and then work on the headliner when it shows up. Now, even though the taillights are in, I'm still missing 2 bolts that go into either side here that 100% secure them in place. So I just have them taped down now. Tomorrow I'll try to go get some bolts that fit them, cinch them down, and then we'll have completed taillights and we'll try to finish up the rest of the wiring in the ass tomorrow. But the good news is I have fully functional blinkers, fully functional taillights, and I don't have to use that stupid little trailer hitch thing that wasn't working properly. All right, it is the next morning and all the parts are nice and dry. And man, I gotta say, like, it's actually turned out a lot better than I ever expected it to, because I hate spray paint, right? Because it requires so much prep and you always get just like a mediocre finish with it. However, it actually looks like, I mean, there's like a little bit of dust on here. Let me brush that off. Yeah, perfect. Especially this. This is gonna be like the main con, so I'm very happy that this turned out good. The only thing left that I have to do now is apply the clear coat. These are gonna be good to go. I'll let them dry for a couple of days before I reinstall them. Now while the clear coat dries, let's see if I can't finish up this wiring here. I still have the old wires in here, but that should just be as simple as ripping those out. Looks like there's a power plug back here of some sort. I have this. This is cut off. This comes from, don't know what this is. This looks like there's a light in here. A sensor, another sensor. Looks like I got two sensors here, which take black, yellow, blue, and brown. Looks like I'm missing another sensor. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pull up the wiring diagram. So this assembly right here, full of electrical wires, is called the junction block. So yesterday I cut these two plugs off of the taillights, of the newer taillights, so I could fit them on the older taillight model. This will come in handy because if I ever want to switch to a 2015 and up GM bed, I'll still have the plugs ready to go. All I gotta do is swap them over. Super simple. So that's what these two are. These are left, this is left, and this is right taillights. I'm assuming that this right here is basically what sends all the signals to the blinkers and the taillights and whatnot. Then this one right here, I know for a fact is your reverse camera. It's even labeled RC. This one isn't labeled and it's also shattered, so I have no idea what this is. And then this one's labeled UP, which don't know what that is either, or up. This right here on top of this runs into this, which is connected to your backup sensors, a bunch of these. So I'm realistically just missing the backup camera, which I've already got, and I'm missing whatever this thing is, and then whatever this thing is. This might not even be a designation for anything. This might just tell you that that way is up. So I found this. This is the harness, number 18. Looks like there's two parking sensors on either side, and then you also have these little lights here. I guess this light right here, this is just kind of your tag light. So I need number 18, which isn't bad. It's like 50 bucks for this whole wiring harness. Not bad. Number 18 with parking assist. Boom, it's on the way. It does not include the parking sensor, which means that I have to buy at least two of them. So I already have two parking sensors. However, I'm assuming this one probably doesn't work. It looks pretty toast. This one looks good, but I don't know if there's any way to test it. So I'm gonna order 3 and hope they all work. Now for the moment that I've been waiting for. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty nervous about this. Is applying the headliner. So this is foam-backed suede. Not really much room for error here on the ends or the lengths or whatever. Ooh-wee. I am nervous. This has probably been like the most nerve-wracking thing that I've done out of the whole build so far, just because it's not really a whole lot of room for error. Table here, my new workbench, AKA piece of plywood on some sawhorses. Now this stuff is already foam backed, right? Which is good, because then all I have to do is spray it and then apply it. I did talk to the guy who's doing my seats, the upholstery on my seats, and he gave me some really good tips. They do sell like 3M spray adhesive in a can. He was like, nah dude, don't do that, don't do that. He gave me some of his glue, which is this stuff, and he told me to just go pick up a spray gun. I get this for like 15 bucks at Home Depot. This does connect to an air compressor, so if you do it this way, you need an air compressor. And be the first to admit I totally screwed up on the first one. It was actually like really disheartening, but went to my local fabric store and picked up some more material, and I'm gonna give it the old college try. So I'm running into a similar problem with the first time around, which is this material isn't quite wide enough. So I have a really bad idea. The issue that I was running into with this headliner is that it's very complex, right? There's a lot of deep downs. This is very hard. In Alcantara and suede, there's no breathing room for stretching, right? And here's what I think I'm gonna do, because this isn't actually suede. This new material that I got is not suede. However, I did pick up a roll of suede, which is much wider than the actual headliner material. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay this in two pieces. Have a piece here and have a piece over there, separate the two. Then I'll lay this over the whole thing and make it one big piece. It actually might be a little bit easier too, and I got enough material to where if it doesn't work, it's not a big deal. I just have to do this whole process over again. You guys are really gonna have to trust me on this, because after doing a lot of research, there is not very many options for headliners this big. And the second time we go around, I'm using the headliner spray again, rather than using the actual stuff that he gave me, because that stuff dries in like 5 minutes. This has got a much longer set time. I present to you guys Frankenhead's headliner. All right, I know this looks awful right now because I basically, since the headliner is so big, I had to kind of piece everything together. I basically removed the foam backing that I messed up originally from the Alcantara, or the suede. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of glue that in place. I'm basically gonna glue it over the top of this, and it'll be seamless and it'll look good. I really need you guys to trust me on this one because it'll turn out good, assuming I do everything right. So. So I got everything nice and clean and laid out. There was a couple of spots of overspray, and I was really worried about messing up with the material. I wasn't sure what chemicals and whatnot would do, so I had some spare material. I sprayed some glue on it, let it dry. Sprayed a little bit of this goo off, which is like knockoff to Goo Gone or whatever. Tested out, make sure it wasn't gonna mess up the material at all, and it pulled off any extra adhesive like perfect. The last step of this whole process, as far as applying this headliner, is that I now need to flip it over and tuck all these edges and make sure everything gets nice and tucked and all the material goes perfectly on the other sides, so it won't come up and stuff like that. That, you know, obviously I have to flip it over, but I don't want to do it on this poster board, so I'm gonna lay some towels out so it doesn't scratch, and you know, this stuff will split off inside this. We don't want that, so yeah.
Kill bartender, please. I need a shot and I'm begging on my knees. The way to fight is one battle at a time. You may have won today, but I'll see you at the finish line.
Moment of truth, flip it over for the final product. Damn! Now that shit looks really good. Damn! Just damn! Oh man, am I absolutely, positively satisfied with the way this has turned out. I couldn't be more over the moon about it. I really couldn't. All the corners are tucked nice. God, this is worth every second of pain and torture that I went through to get this done. And it's very important to know when to quit. Statistically, with stuff like this, like, I'm pretty hardcore about perfection, and I think it's important that I have to figure out when to quit, and I think we're approaching that. I think we're right there at it. I think it's time to call it good, and I want it to go in like this. So, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm still waiting on the control module box for the lighting kit. Yeah, I don't know when it's gonna be here. I still have to pull out the sunroof part and rewrap that. We'll do that in just a second. This sucked. This was hard. This was very hard, and I'm very happy to have it done. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this crap and do something else. So, try to get this done before it rains because it's gonna. Finally got the package from Diode Dynamics with the correct LEDs. So I'm basically gonna just pop those out, put the new ones in, put the screws in as well. Let's do that. Little one should just go in there. That one. That one. Okay. Now I just gotta figure out where to put the resistor. They have these little resistor kits that I talked about previously. I've done this before, but it's always super weird, right? All you do is you pop these little splices, you know, these little splicers, they automatically do it for you. You basically clip this on between your ground and your blinker, and it creates resistance. There we go. Now this resistor's on, but I'm gonna move the camera inside so it doesn't get wet. I'm dumb. I'm gonna try to do my best to include my failures in this, but I forgot that this isn't the blinker, this is the reverse light. Would explain why it's not working. See, everyone gets to be wrong, right? Like, it happens to everybody. It just happens to me more often than you. All right, so here's the issue that I'm running into now, is the fact that you have a black, a green, and a brown wire on both of these, which means that these are both signal wires. So we do need 2 resistors per side. I've read forums online that say you only need 1 resistor. However, I'm just gonna follow the rules and do 2 resistors, which is really nice because Diode Dynamics sends a little diagram, right? So if you have a no signal wire, you have a positive and a negative, and you basically just put the resistor in between 2 of those. That's why I was like, oh, super simple, right? Wrong. Because this is signal wire, blinkers, you need to put your resistor between your turn wire and your ground, because you have a running light, a turn, and a ground. Now, if I'm right, and I believe I am, that obviously your black is your ground, and your green is gonna be your power or your running light, right? And then your brown is gonna be your signal. So that's how I believe it's gonna work. But just to make sure, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Google the wiring diagram just to confirm, because it'll tell me the color. If you're lucky, you can usually find wiring diagrams for certain vehicles, specifically like this one, online. If you're really lucky, you'll be able to search on these where they've converted it to a full-blown PDF file. It'll download like a regular file onto your phone. Boom. Tail lamps. We need to go to, well, this can pick up, but you have your list of colors too. So this one says BK, which stands for black. That's gonna be your ground, obviously. Then we got BN for brown, and then LGN, light green. Because you have light greens, light blues, dark greens, stuff like that. Should be the black and brown wire. So that one should be good. I should only need the 1 resistor and they both should work. I'm gonna test it out just to make sure, and then probably put the other resistor in anyway. All right, so I forgot something. Here, check this out. So, so you gotta plug it in, everything should work, and then it doesn't. I'm like, shit, did I get the years confused? Because You know, I know I did some weird splicing with the plug, and like there's definitely a difference of wires, right? And I'm like, and I always forget that these are not omnidirectional. You can't put, because these will go in both ways, right? Like these will go in however way you want, but there's a way to do it, right? So check this out. So now they're both flashing now. They weren't before, they're very bright. Look at that. That won't flash. Put it the other way around. So we flip it over to the right blinker. However, only one over here is too. If I flip this one around, boom. The other side stopped blinking too. However, they're still flashing fast. Figured it out. I figured out what the problem was. It was that, I guess the green on this particular wire setup is your signal wire. Now, every wiring diagram that I've found shows that the brown is the signal wire. And in most cases, brown is the signal wire. I don't know why. Maybe when I spliced the clips back, I got some colors mixed up, or maybe they were just different. But on this particular setup, the green is the signal wire, not the brown. But now we don't have hyper flash. But I'm gonna put this all back together, and we're gonna put the taillights in. Heck yeah, let's do it. So I was missing these from the replacement taillights, the little bolts that go in these clips. They're really more like a screw, really. But like your local Home Depot or Ace Hardware or whatever is gonna have an automotive section, usually in their hardware section, that has stuff like this. Nice and bright left turn signal. That is very bright. Boom, right signal works too. Now before we do what I've pulled this up here to do, we'll talk about one thing real quick. I'm giving up on these carpets. I'm doing it. I'm giving up on them. I know it's not the carpet's fault. The carpets are actually not in bad condition. However, the smell has not gone away. Just kind of looking at some of the interior, the matting underneath it, the whole floor is just soaked. It's just gross. Once the water gets into this material, your jute is done. I am going to be ripping out all of this carpet. I've got new carpet on the way. It should be here soon. That'll be in the next video, obviously, but I gotta rip out the carpet. One more thing I do want to do though is I have a new air filter here. I'll do that in a second, but I want to pull out the headlights first, and I'll tell you why. So, as you guys know, I'm doing a lot of stuff that's outside of my comfort zone on this build. The headliner is the biggest one. Never replaced carpet before. I've ripped carpet out of cars before. I've never replaced it with new carpet. So when that arrives, and I'll go through the whole steps of that too, hopefully it won't look like shit. Back to what I was saying, I've done a lot of stuff that I'm not super comfortable with, done a lot of stuff that I've never done before, and this is gonna be another one. Obviously, Dial Dynamics sent out the Demon Eyes. Basically, those are universal kits, meaning that they just work about on any headlight. They have like a specific kit for certain makes and models, obviously, but more or less they're a pretty much universal kit. They'll fit any car. What does that mean for me? That means that I have to pull out the headlights, rip them apart, clean up the inside, stuff like that, basically glue everything in, and then reseal it. To break the original bond, an automotive adhesive, I have to put it in the oven for, I think he said 10 to 15 minutes, somewhere around there, and that should melt the adhesive. But if I leave it in too long, I melt the lights and fuck them up. So it's gonna be a really delicate process, and I'm not looking forward to it. However, he's all like, if I can do it, you can do it. So obviously I'm very nervous about this because it's something I've never done before, and I'm not comfortable with doing it. We will bridge that gap when we come to it. Now we gotta remove these headlights. Funny story, this already has HIDs, and this one is particularly unreliable. That was some work. More work than it needed to be. Seriously, GM, send me an email, I have some ideas. And while I'm thinking about it and have the proper tools out, air filter for the cabin, I bet it's gonna be gross. For this particular truck, as well as the 2500s and the 1500s, I believe, You have your cabin air filter in here. You just pull out these 2 bolts, and then the whole tray should slide out, I believe. There's 2 more in the bottom as well. No shit, there's no air filter in here. It's supposed to be scented. Doesn't smell scented, but it's supposed to be scented. That's probably the easiest thing I've done on this truck, and I hope it makes a huge difference. There probably wouldn't be so much damn dust in this truck if there had been an air filter in it. Done. Really no point in cleaning this up. I have to rip out all the carpet anyway. Alright, so this is where I'm gonna close the video. Literally nothing went my way during this episode. It was a struggle, but we got through it, man. I got a bunch of stuff done. It may not look super impressive, but stuff that I got done in this video, it was astronomical as far as like progress. In the next video, we'll tackle the Starlight headliner, the headlights, the carpet, the rear window, and probably some other small odds and ends. Or we might do some one-off videos, like maybe just the Starlight headliner if people are interested in just that. Or maybe just the rear window. I don't know, I'll see how it goes. However, you can probably expect one of these videos coming up pretty soon. I still have a lot of footage to edit and still a lot more stuff to do on this truck before we can wrap it up and get it on the road. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, or don't. I don't really care, but I appreciate those who do. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.